제 이름은 김0nsu이고요. 똑같은 아이디로 che0nsu 쓰고 있습니다. 그리고 소셜미디어 관련해서는 트위터에서 che0nsu라고 쓰고 있습니다. 그 0이라는 의미가 제가 영패한다는 의미로 썼거든요. 그래서 저는 패배를 모르는 사나이 이런 느낌으로 제가 0을 썼습니다. I'm super smart.
But people know that already.
I'm super smart. 제 명석하고 명석한 두뇌에서 나옵니다. 세계에서 가장 잘하는 헌터레이스 선수랑 라이벌이라고 생각하고 있고요. 제가 이제 이번 연도에 우승을 하려면 일단 헌터레이스 같은 가장 잘하는 선수를 이겨야 하잖아요. 그래서 헌터레이스를 라이벌로 생각하고 있습니다. 올해 제 목표는 당연하게도 이번 월드 챔피언십을 우승하는 겁니다.
안녕하세요. 제 이름은 심다솔입니다. 하스스톤 아이디는 리바이어스라는 아이디를 쓰고 있고 트위치에서는 다솔링이라는 아이디로 방송하고 있습니다. 제 하스스톤 닉네임이 리바이어스인데 그거는 예전에 그 워크래프트 3라는 게임에서 이제 다른 친구한테 아이디를 받았어요. 아이디를 받았을 때 받은 아이디의 이름이 리바이어스인데 그거를 이제 쓰다 보니까 뭐 다른 게임 할 때도 쓰게 됐고 하스스톤에서도 쓰게 되었습니다. 그러니까 굳이 꼽는다면은 서렌더 선수? 제가 그 옛날부터 그 서렌더 선수 스트리밍 많이 챙겨보고 이제 서렌더 선수 방송을 보면서 이제 실력을 많이 키웠는데 지금도 많이 팬이고 굉장히 잘한다고 생각하고 있어요. 그래서 이제 그 선수랑 그러니까 디비전이 아니라 좀 더 높은 곳에서 이왕이면은 그 파이널 결에서 만나서 이제 제가 이겼으면 좋겠습니다. 뭐 제가 제일 좋아하는 선수라면은 아까도 말했다시피 서렌더 선수. 그러니까 제가 하스를 처음 시작한 게 그 병원에 입원했을 때 시작을 했는데 이제 그때부터 하스를 하면서 거의 매일 방송을 했어요. 그때는 이제 서렌더님이 방송을 자주 매일매일 켰기 때문에 매일매일 보면서 제가 이제 하스 실력을 늘린 거라서 그래도 서렌더 선수가 제일 좋죠. 팬이니까. 기대한다기보다는 이제 제가 목표로 삼은 게 있는데 작년에 이제 월드 챔피언십을 노렸지만 약간 그러니까 여러 가지 요인 때문에 못했는데 이번에는 좀 열심히 해서 그러니까 상위 라운드에 그러니까 최상위 라운드에 진출해서 네, 좋은 모습 보여드리고 싶습니다.
Ryvius didn't get his chance to participate in Worlds this past year, but he's still got a chance to do it this time, or at least in this season. He's still got a whole second season to go as well. But we are going to have a Bomb Warrior Mirror again. And the last one of the day, I thought the first one, although it did take a little bit of a while compared to some of the other matchups, I thought it was pretty exciting. So let's take a look at the deck list and see what differences are going on here. Let's take a look at che0nsu's list first, G.
Yeah, che0nsu on the primary, already rocking only one Eternium Rover, I think in favor of having more of the weapon removal package, double weapons project, and Harrison Jones. So he's probably hoping to run into more of the rogue matchups, although I don't think Harrison is too bad at all in the mirror. And the loss of Eternium Rover is something you would do anyway when you're switching to secondary in the mirror.
Yeah, for me, the Elysiana main deck is absolutely huge, and maybe actually will alter at least the way che0nsu plays the game from turn 1. He knows he has Elysiana, and Ryvius does not, so considering the mirror we saw earlier between Tyler and Bloodtrail, both players moved over to their slower decks with Elysianas in. che0nsu's already one step ahead, and that means that he also will be unlikely to need to change deck And when you're happy on your primary deck in the matchup, it means you just strictly have an advantage in game number 1 and for the whole, then by knock-on effect, the whole series overall. Let's take a look at Ryvius' list and see how it does line up, because there is no Elysiana, but there is a Geppetto.
Yes, I still think that che0nsu would be heavily favored just because of the Elysiana, although Geppetto is a great card on curve. But I think the real story here is that because che0nsu has the Elysiana in primary, he's already hedging for the mirror there, and he does not have a secondary or tertiary specifically for the mirror. His secondary is for Mage with the double BGH and Super Collider and second Omega Devastator. The tertiary is running 2 silence effects in double Spellbreaker and Acolyte of Pain, so probably something like what Frosty was trying to do and maybe hedge around the possibility of Mech Paladins, Mech Hunters coming out after the buffs this week, but not really having a target. So I think that after game 1, although che0nsu was super favored at the beginning, he's gonna have an uphill battle after that.
Yeah, it's really weird, isn't it, though? Because, like, game number 2, you would have to say just, okay, Ryvius overall has the advantage. But if che0nsu wins game number 1, che0nsu just has more of an advantage, I would say, because having the slightly more teched deck helps out in a singular game, but in a series being 1-0 helps out way more, and we've seen that just because you tech a bit more for a matchup doesn't mean you're just going to win, because we've seen at least Dr. Boom, Magenius decides the fate of these warrior players more so than anything else. So for me, I think just maybe if che0nsu can win the game number 1 with this help of Elysiana, it just puts him in such a good spot for the series as a whole that he might be able to take this one.
I definitely agree, and we even saw that Frosty was in the same spot when he played the Bomb Warrior Mirror against Tom60229, and he did not have a deck for the mirror, and yet was still able to take the series 2-1 after winning that primary game, and then he was still able to have more chances to get an unfavored win after the initial one.
Exactly, yeah, and we'll see what happens here as we do move into game number 1. che0nsu versus Ryvius, 2 South Korean players, and che0nsu was saying in his interview, the 0 in his name is for 0 losses, because he never loses. Well, I'm afraid to say, friend, that 1-6 next to your name is not 16 wins, it is 1 win and 6 losses in Grandmasters so far. You can blame Malfurion, that's fine, che0nsu, I'm with you on that one. But he does have a mountain to climb here, whereas Ryvius, very much on that middle ground of 3 and 4. If he takes a win here versus che0nsu, he just goes 4 and 4 for the overall Grandmasters so far.
Yep. And while we spectate these first few turns of hero power passing, I just want to say that it was pretty fun interviewing both of these guys, because che0nsu, while of course nobody actually believes they're going to get 0 losses in something at the level of Grandmasters, this guy was very game to go with that branding about him having a real big brain, being smart and coming back and just, you know, trying to dominate. So I appreciate that from him. And from Ryvius' side, he's got something in common with the two of us. Big Surrender fan.
Yep, that's absolutely fine by me. But I'm also just a big fan of the South Korean players in general. I think they're very good, and even che0nsu, yeah, his score doesn't look fantastic, right? That's just the truth. But it's also just X amount of games. It's 7 games total, and he's gone 1 and 6 against some of the best players in his region. But I've been keeping an eye on che0nsu for a long time now, and he is a very good player with a lot of respect in the scene.
For sure. And Ryvius also has kind of that reputation for being able to optimize decks and bring something off the wall and catch people off guard. He actually went for shield block on 3, knowing that Coin Militia Commander didn't have a great follow-up, and also Elec on curve, even though it challenged the 3-3, was very weak to che0nsu's own Militia Commander. And now Ryvius has the choice between Militia and Wrench Caliber to deal with this.
Yeah, I think I really like the Wrench Caliber here. It just feels better. You don't leave a minion that che0nsu can just freely Wrench Caliber into for even more value.
Yep.
And it's just clean and gets it locked in for the next turn.
Makes a lot of sense. I also just like getting the weapon charges use as soon as possible, because che0nsu is running the double weapons project and Harrison package. I feel like we've seen this type of curve so many times throughout the weekend, Raven.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's just the aggressive play, and Ryvius, or che0nsu at least, being able to hold the weapon is just because Ryvius doesn't run any weapon removal at all, which means he can hold onto this weapon for as long as he desires.
Yes, at least for the primary. And che0nsu, wow, with that draw of the Elec, can now shuffle 4 bombs into Ryvius' deck for a grand total of 5. Are we agreed on that?
We are. We're keeping track so far.
But that conversely gives Ryvius a pretty decent target for Dinomatic, and he can clear off the Goblin with the second charge of Wrench Caliber. Just looks like bread and butter Hearthstone right now. But there's also an option of going for Boom with 4 Boom bots after he takes the Wrench Caliber swing.
It wouldn't be so bad, would it?
There's also Coin Hero Boom, but I think that's the worst out of the options.
This is probably just the safest. It's funny though, because che0nsu's going to have to pull a bit of a rabbit out of the hat in the next couple of turns. He has a decent answer to this Dinomatic, but doesn't have a lot of other stuff. And in the mirror, you don't really want Troll Mega Assembly before turn 10.
Yeah. I think che0nsu has no Acolytes in the deck, and he has double Town Crier to help with the cycle, but yeah, it's pretty tough that sometimes you end up with this type of hand. Second Commander before any Town Criers is pretty unfortunate. So Ryvius, he can go for Boom on curve for 4 Boom bots, or he can take double shuffles with Augmented and Clockwork Golem, Goblin. But,
I like the boom.
Yeah, me too.
I like just play tempo, get the boom down and go and ask che0nsu to do something about this.
Exactly.
We can see he has a shield slam as a pretty good answer along with a hero power.
My question is if he wants to play the Eternium Rover to possibly soak up some damage, but I like trading and then playing the Rover. Okay, we can see the other boom now. Yep. That is not something che0nsu likes to see. Even though he's got Elysiana, a boom this early can be absolutely backbreaking, as we've seen many times throughout the day already.
And, yeah, and this is what I was saying. I think Elysiana's impact in the Warrior Mirror has lessened to quite a degree now, because it can't just be, speaking of which, it can't just be repeatedly bounced, which makes the game go on for so long.
That's a good point. I wonder if che0nsu's even going to expend a weapon swing to get rid of one of these boom bots, but the fact that he played Commander first makes me think he's going to hold on to the charge. But wow, Ryvius can go
Deep on bombs.
He can be super greedy and then just equip Wrench Caliber this turn, and then next turn have double Elec and the Clockwork Goblin to get it.
He could, but double weapons
Exactly.
project and Harrison is something you do not want to walk straight into.
Right. So I kind of like maybe 1 Elec, 1 Clockwork, and Hero Power. That seems decent. Then you can still save the other Elec for another Goblin Discovered or something like
I wonder
that.
if you can just go triple 3-drop. Because has che0nsu really told you he has a brawl by now? I think you'd lean towards him not having a brawl because of the way he dealt with Boom. Like, the Boom cost him a shield slam and multiple minions over turns, and the bots are still not dealt with. Whereas
That's a
Brawl
fair
would have
point.
just cleaned everything up, left 1 Boom bot or the Boom, and then you either shield, you could maybe shield slam the Boom first, then Brawl. So I don't know, maybe Ryvius could have committed there, but it's easy for us to say. We can see that there's a whole lot of nothing he could do. So this is probably safe to just space out this these extra bomb generation.
I would agree. Do you have che0nsu in 4?
Yes.
Okay. Just checking. che0nsu finally able to activate Mega Assembly, which can now get Snip Snap. Can play 3 of them this turn. Probably magnetize 2 and then eat the Elec, and then the third one can eat a bomb, perhaps. Then he can swing into the Clockwork Goblin as well.
Wait, He doesn't have Rush.
Oh!
Unlike,
Oh
well,
my
apart
gosh!
from the skater bot.
Yeah,
Apart from the
sorry.
skater bot, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, you're totally right. He can do that next turn then with the skater bot.
Wait, does Snip Snap have Rush as
Oh
well?
my
Because
God,
this
yeah.
card is broken.
Yeah.
Still though,
I
it's
think
still
we're
not a
both
terrible play.
on. Both of us have had a couple strikes of assuming somebody's on boom mode already when
Yeah.
they're not.
What now?
So shield slamming this and then wrenching down the 3/3. He can probably order 2 of his own bombs. Or just double snip snap and over. Okay.
It's really funny. So in terms of just presuming you're on Boom, so the deck submission thing that the players go through. They effectively have just some things they have to fill out every week to submit their lists.
Yeah.
And one of the questions is, do you have a preferred hero you want to play as? Because it affects some of the graphics we use. You know, we try and be fancy and use. I'm surprised. I'm pretty sure it's a choice of a select amount, but I'd love it if someone just overtyped and just was like, yeah, Dr. Boom. That's the true answer.
Ryvius's expressions, he's pretty entertaining to watch, I'll give him that. And that's because that expression was because he got a pretty terrible selection of mechs. Dynomatic is great, not in the mirror. Sometimes it can snipe things like che0nsu, but not in the primary match. The other two look like straight garbage. Like even the Goblin Bomb, I think, is actively just taking up board space and doing not much else.
I wonder if you just chuck stuff down, trade a little. I'm going to be very technical with the description, but is it ever worth considering a brawl, or do you need to save it for later? Because this is a lot of stuff, and if it hits you a few times, then that's just damage you could avoid.
I just think the problem with Brawl, you make a good point, but the fact that the Snip Snaps have Death Rattle really disincentivizes Brawl.
Yeah, I mean like trading into the Snip Snaps first.
Oh, okay.
And then trying to just clear off all that. But maybe it's just too low value. I don't know, I always struggle with this because I always see just chip damage every turn starting to add up.
che0nsu on 6 bombs, I think.
That's right to me.
But yeah, I like that Ryvius kind of ignores the problem for now of the 2 Snip Snaps and their Death Rattles being very awkward to deal with. I think this Town Crier guaranteed pulls Ziliax for che0nsu. So that's pretty good to magnetize onto the Snip Snap. And it will have Rush, not to mention it can attack already. And eat the Elic.
So more reasonably, it actually gives the Ziliax or other mech a charge.
It's just unfortunate that the Ziliax is not healing che0nsu for anything. So he's... Oh, he can give that Rush instead. That seems better. che0nsu is on the Kaboom hero power now, so this is...
Pretty big deal, actually. You can swing into one to guarantee that the 2 trades of the bombs go into the other one. So even if the bombs take off some minions, he's not only one to keep.
And this snipes off the Town Crier too. It's good order, I think. Oh, yeah, he doesn't even have to expend the bombs because of this.
Yeah, you're right.
This is very convenient for Ryvius. Also shuffles a 7th bomb into che0nsu's deck. So 1/3 of the deck from che0nsu is a hazard.
That's rough. 1 in 3 to just deal yourself damage. Oh, okay. That's slightly bigger chance than 1 in 3.
This looks like it's good enough to Warpath, mainly because he doesn't have much else to do. It's another problem of the mirror of when the boom is just way too low in che0nsu's deck, and
my question is,
can't rip the Elysiana till he gets it.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because boom is a massive deal, right? You know, don't get me wrong. I'm 100% agreeing that you need to hold on for as long as possible. But my worry is, the longer he holds on, the more chance he's got of just killing himself.
Sure.
And that boom gives him, 7 armor, but he's dead anyway. It's my worry.
Yeah, you make a good point, and that was the dilemma Tyler had to face also.
Yeah.
But I do think
Ooh,
you can't take the risk. I'm looking at the Bulldozer. That card was
You love that card.
insane.
You're obsessed with that
It
card,
was
honestly.
so insane last game. Okay, first bomb. Second bomb.
Okay, so we still got 5 in the deck.
Crazy. Weapons Project not even able to negate a Wrench Caliber. Forced into a low-value Ziliax, but you probably... Oh, still holding off. Okay. I was thinking you go Clockwork Goblin and Ziliax just to have
che0nsu
something to do.
Could just die this turn. He can push, what? So he goes up to 7. He can push 10.
He can double magnetize Ziliax, although the second Ziliax...
I think it's worth keeping. I think he just pushes 10. The unfortunate part is it puts che0nsu on... wait, what was it? It puts him on 6.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit annoying. We'd rather put him on 5.
But honestly, there's nothing unfortunate about Ryvius' situation as a whole. I mean, why not double magnetize the Zilliax? Because like the hero power, yes, it's dealing the same amount of damage, but what else would he do with the mana anyway? Play Alarmo bot? I guess that's not awful.
It's not awful, but my thought would have been, oh, interesting. What's he afraid of?
Can still Zilliax coin hero power here.
Yes. And this puts him within 2 bombs anyway. Just like 6 is the same as 10 in terms of how many bombs need to be drawn for an insta win.
Sure.
So this puts him in the same brand, you know, in the same region of dying from bombs regardless.
Yes. Get what you mean.
Missed one again, okay. che0nsu can't draw! He just can't afford to. He gains the armor, but he could just blow up.
Well, here's the thing. What if he needs to draw into Boom and take that chance of not drawing any bombs? Because
the problem here is with the Divine Shield as well, he can't even magnetize Zilliax and heal.
He's going to swing into it with the weapons project, right?
I think he might pass instead.
Ooh.
Because, it'll be 6 health, 6 attack, sorry. He can't be killed without... Oh, is he going to swing?
But with the Microbot hero power that just pings off the Divine Shield, yes, you heal for 6, but then Ryvius can remove it with only removing the Divine Shield on his minion. So I think che0nsu is biting the bullet. Ryvius has 6 bombs, I think, but 42 health. So even in the super off chance that they're all off the top here.
So, Shield Slam, Zilliax, put him to 10. Well, you know, not 10 exactly, but put him low.
Yeah.
I think just seems straightforward.
I think so.
I mean, this could be the turn to play the Bulldozer, to be fair. You could just Bulldozer, trade, so it doesn't heal anyway because the Divine Shield, and then push 4, put him to exactly 10. That also seems reasonable.
Yeah, I like all these options.
I guess with so much health, you could just hold on. Oh, maybe the other way, right? If you're scared of bombs going off, then your Shield Slam gets worse. It could have even been Bulldozer Shield Slam, and then put him to 10 anyway, and just have the Divine Shield on the Bulldozer. There were many options available here. Okay.
Honestly, just looks like an unlosable situation.
That's game.
I'm pretty happy that che0nsu's suffering ended sooner rather than later, because that match was such... No, I'm not actively rooting against che0nsu or anything, but honestly, he was so far out of the game, even 3 or 4 turns before that even a boom off the top couldn't have saved him.
I actually thought instead that you were going to say, oh yeah, I'm pretty happy che0nsu's suffering, and then just end the sentence. I was like, wow, that's savage.
Do you think I'm sadistic?
Randomly hate che0nsu.
What the heck? I just said that guy was so fun to interview because he's like really game to talk about his branding.
There was a slight pause that I thought you were just going to stop talking. I was like, okay, that's weird. But going back to the game, Ryvius does take the win, and again, Boom kind of leads the way. I don't know if you can ever Elysiana to defuse the bombs early and hope that's enough, because there is the issue where, yes, Boom as the next draw would even the game up more, but if Boom's the bottom of the deck, then you just lose. I don't even think there's a way to survive. And there was a point where che0nsu was behind and had 7 bombs in his deck. There was a third of his deck that were bombs, which is very, very scary overall.
I mean, there was a point where maybe he was just so far behind that Elysiana into Miracles was the only way to win, but
maybe, yeah,
who knows? Like, it's definitely like a 1% and below chance no matter what lines he takes. So that was quite unfortunate, not only because of how low the Boom is, but because of the way the decks line up. Ryvius is now going to move into a more favored deck. And after having already won once, it's just... Is che0nsu supposed to take this back?
Yeah, it's tough. So just to remind you guys, che0nsu will almost certainly be sticking to his primary list because he has he's hedged a little bit, so he's got the Elysiana in there, which helps, although it didn't come into play last game. Whereas Ryvius is now going to add his own Elysiana, but not only that, there's going to be a plus C4 in Bomber, a Ken, a Grom, and a Harrison, and all he loses is the Eternium Rovers, 1 Warpath, and Acolyte and Brawl. So it's just like, just doesn't want to lose that much, and the game is nuts. It means he can go further ahead whilst also just matching che0nsu Elysiana for Elysiana, which is the one thing where even if it doesn't come into play in every game, if you both have it, then you can say they nullify each other to a certain extent.
Yeah, I totally understand what you mean. And that Elysiana was supposed to be che0nsu's one saving grace in the first matchup, but it didn't just like Elysiana on its own is not enough to get there when the boom is not high enough,
Right.
or if you don't have good answers to the solid curves. So if che0nsu wants to take this, it's just gonna be, I think, a miracle.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we've just had confirmation that Ryvius is moving to secondary. Not really surprised. We can check out the list in just a second. There we go. And yeah, it's just as we said though. It's extra value. It's very similar to Tyler's approach as well, which is just extra value, just pushing more overall bombs, more damage. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to go back and watch that game and maybe ask a few experts on Warrior, especially Warrior Mirrors. Is like, was Elysiana supposed to come down and remove a third of your deck being a problem? Because that was just so much damage, and without even consistent ways to heal that back up, it was just insane. It's like more damage than you have total health, apart from armor in the game.
Yeah, I would like to see what a lot of people think about it. And I honestly have to say that in this meta in general, the fact that you have this huge divide of pro players arguing about things like whether you should play Raiding Party or Shark means that there's still a lot of things to be developed and solved in the meta, and that's going to be really interesting going into Vegas next week.
It's one thing Fino was talking about yesterday in his winning interview in the Europe Grandmasters. He was saying that one thing he really enjoys about the game right now is that all his peers and all the pros basically have completely different opinions on what's good. And when you've got players at this level having different opinions, it means like stuff's like there's probably a lot of stuff that is good,
Yeah.
and no one not really knowing what's the best makes everything up for grabs. When you've got players along the lines of Fino, Bunny Hopper, as well as a few others taking different rogue decks to high stakes games, then that's when you know you've got an interesting moment. But let's travel back into the Asia Pacific region with this warrior mirror between che0nsu and Ryvius.
Yes. Already interesting from che0nsu, keeping the Eternium Rover there. I think that's not necessarily a good card in the matchup, but what he may be thinking is that he is so massively unfavored to begin with that maybe he just needs to draw the absolute most insane curve, and that involves having a 1-drop into a coin 3 into 3 into 4.
Just play stuff on the board and hope it's enough is a reasonable strategy in most circumstances.
So by that reasoning, you would go for Rover over Hero Power here, I think.
Probably. Rover gets you the hero power, and Rover does damage to your opponent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't see why not at all.
Ryvius with a bit of a reaction to that. I can't tell if it was confusion or just Ryvius being Ryvius, because he is very expressive, but maybe he's also confused as to why that was a kept card, because he will see that came from the
From
one
the
card.
mulligan.
Yeah. Mulligan.
Oh, Coin Militia Commander with a follow-up of the Elic. Means it's slightly backwards in the curve sense, but very progressive on the board.
Yeah. Ooh, pretty good draw for Ryvius here, although he did already have his choice of answers. I'm kind of partial to Militia Commander to taking down the 1-3, because that puts the commander at a 4 health total, which is awkward for just a simple Wrench Caliber from che0nsu to deal with.
The only thing that would worry me is Militia Commander's way better at killing other stuff than the
True.
1-3.
Yeah.
Like taking down an Omega Devastator on curve, even if someone just plays a Dynomatic on curve, because sometimes you force to in this mirror, then just taking down a higher health minion is very valuable. And also, let me think. Okay, so che0nsu doesn't run any bombs, any C4 in bombers, so I guess that's not a target, but still. Having it just available there, I like.
Yeah. Imagine if he just didn't run any bombs in Bomb War. There were iterations of the deck where you just side out the bombs and play more heavy control stuff, but I think people have just kind of realized that bombs are good.
Yes.
2 bombs in che0nsu's deck, and thankfully for him this game, he got the Town Criers before the Rush minions, so that is definitely helping his cycle plan a lot more, because he did run dry on the card draw last game. Following the game plan of trying to curve out, maybe you just play Ziliax here, but the rest of the hand doesn't support it. But I really think che0nsu's in a position, both from the way the decks are built and just with his hand, that he needs to rely on the top deck.
Yeah.
So I can completely respect the Ziliax here.
His plan overall is kind of working. Ryvius doesn't have great answers to this board, and even though it's quite flimsy looking, they are, you know, Ryvius is on 21 and che0nsu's on 32, so it looks a little bit silly to oversimplify it to that extent.
Yeah.
But it does mean che0nsu's doing, like, enacting his plan.
Funny enough, Ryvius doesn't have the Warpath. It's only a 1-of, to be fair, in this matchup. But he also doesn't have Dynomatic, which would have done a decent job at least getting rid of the Town Criers. So he's got the Great Curve, which in most iterations of the matchup would be good for him, or at least the Great Minion on Curve, which is che0nsu. But che0nsu is kind of just chipping away with these one-drops.
It's getting the job done.
I like the game plan. It's really good recognition, I would say. We're shield slamming Zilliaxes now. That's the world we live in. But
well, this starts to get to be the problem for che0nsu, doesn't it? Is the second he runs out of gas and Ryvius gains the board, che0nsu doesn't really do much else this game. I think he needed this to take him all the way home.
that was a pretty sad draw here. I wonder if he's forced to Omega Assembly for one minion just because the game plan has revealed itself, you know.
What if he... Yeah, I guess assembly, but...
Looks like he's going Warpath this turn.
I was wondering whether he shield slams. just lets Ryvius make trades.
Oh, does nothing.
He's not even done shield slam, wow.
That looks weird to me, why you wouldn't at least Warpath something if you are going to leave all these on board.
I understand why he's not Warpathed, right? So Ryvius probably trades, which is really good for che0nsu because Ryvius is trading big minions into 1-drops. And if he trades, he takes 0 damage, and the minions get weaker, and also Ryvius probably plays more minions, which means Warpath just does a better job next turn. Because che0nsu has a whole lot of nothing next turn, but apart from exactly his top deck. So his Warpath just gets more value, and he doesn't really lose anything for it.
I mean, he's got the second Warpath and a Brawl.
Well, my point is, if he Warpathed last turn, his own minions die. So Ryvius just gets a free turn anyway. And is Ryvius trading into the 1-2s better than Ryvius having a free turn? I think so. Look how sick this is. He traded a che0nsu into a 1-2. Or Bane, I guess, is going to get technical.
Zilliax is the punish, and I understand why you wouldn't play around exactly this, because it's a 1-of. But I still think that with the way the hand lines up from che0nsu, did he need to take any risk there? Because he's just got removal for days. I think it's a tough spot to say.
Wrench Caliber, not going to quite get him there, but he does have Shield Slam, most important, to clean off this clockwork.
Unfortunately, the Town Crier does not survive 2 Warpaths.
He did a great job, though.
Yeah.
That guy deserves a medal along with his buddy, the other Town Crier. He covers him on days off. Ryvius' hand is a little bit of a whiff, too.
Yeah. Are we just playing...
Tempo Elysiana, let's go.
It might be just like Wrench Caliber and Swing. Or Do Nothing is... Yeah, makes more sense, I think, from Ryvius' standpoint, which is the less aggressive player.
It's actually upsetting to think, after all of that aggression early on and che0nsu doing the desperation heroic all-in, Ryvius is nearly at full health again. And it's just like...
That's Zilliax for you.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can...
a bit better. Mega Assembly to open up more options.
More bombs!
Why not?
Maybe he just plays the 1-drops and chills here, and the next turn he can do the thing with the 4 bombs.
Double 3-drops probably okay, right?
It's a question of whether he wants the max bomb value or not.
Yeah, he can make up the damage if the minions live.
But I think he should have a reasonable read on che0nsu's hand being air, maybe Omega Assembly, a second one, something like Weapons Project, but Brawl is definitely a card that if he goes wide onto the board, suddenly che0nsu has use out of it.
That's what I mean, is 2 minions that wide though. If he just goes double 3-drop
fair.
hero power, I think that it's a 3-4 or 3-3. If removal comes out, then they've shuffled 2 bombs in the deck, so done an extra 10 damage effectively.
It's a fair point.
He's got to do it this way around. Either way, I like Ryvius doing something active because now he can put che0nsu on the defensive.
Yeah.
And although che0nsu's hand is more beneficial to be defensive, che0nsu's game plan isn't at all.
Yeah, hedging around this way, I think, while also being the best use of his mana, also gives him the chance to get a total of 6 bombs shuffled, although there are very few worlds where the LX sticks. But Dr. Boom, Mad Genius, off the top for che0nsu. That is a heck of a draw, and I think suddenly he's back in the game.
If there's something I've been taught so far in what Warrior Mirrors, is that whoever plays boom first wins. I think that's literally been true of
Granted,
every single game we've seen this weekend.
Granted, the gap between the turns of Boom being played first was, except for that one game where Tyler and Blood Trail had them consecutively, there was a few turns gap between the Booms, so that was very significant. But maybe just 1 or 2 turns late as Boom isn't as impactful.
I don't want to hear any logical discussion. Anyone who plays boom first wins.
All right, Raven.
Now we will see though. Ryvius could book that trend. He has a lot of pressure himself now.
This does have max boom bots in it, but I like just getting the pressure even though he doesn't use all the board space.
It's a 7/7 as
Yeah,
well, right?
it's
That's
so good. Yeah.
marginally the important thing as
and-
well as the boom bots. Still
And
doing that.
che0nsu just extended a shield slam onto the Elec. The che0nsu's got 9 bombs in deck. if
I'll
I-
be completely honest. I was relying on you to count this time.
Okay. No
I'm
more
gonna believe
competition.
8 now.
Yeah. Ooh, Devastator always good. So he's got insurance for no matter what survives this brawl.
Now Explodinator looks pretty good to me.
What about delivery drone? Value. It's off curve, but I think
Okay.
he's got a relatively reasonable health total. Nullifiers are great. Hecklebot has the chance of, from che0nsu's perspective, pulling Elysiana, the classic interaction. But this is probably the safest pick overall. Last shield as the next hero power. che0nsu is pretty happy to see that. 10, is this 10?
I'm gonna start shouting out bombs and then you write them down. +2.
Okay, maybe that's how we were supposed to do this. Just
Yeah.
one person writing down
It
and the
makes
other one
it
calling
a
it.
horrible cast though, doesn't it? Because instead of talking about game plans and overall stuff about the players, we go, another bomb, and so on, so on.
Ryvius has got quite a few in his own deck. I think 5 by my count. Sorry, 6. So that boom would have been fully active, but instead che0nsu's gonna take the perfectly strong turn still of just removing most of this board and the blast shield.
And also kind of getting bombs involved.
Yeah,
Still 4 damage. It's nearly a bomb.
these are the hunter bombs. Those are the bad ones.
Oh, it just never ends, does it? How many? Are we upwards of 10?
My notes are saying 11, but that's probably wrong. Oh my god. I was writing them on my game 1 notes. That's
Oh,
why.
no.
Holy crap. This is not good. Okay, I'm gonna like -4 from there and say
Pick
it's
an
like
arbitrary number to minus off.
yeah.
There are bombs in both decks.
Yeah.
That's
I
what I'm
will
gonna
say there's a whole lot in che0nsu's. Maybe not upwards of 10, but a lot. I'll put it around 7.
Oh, this gets a little bit tricky. Suddenly, that bomb in the middle heard Gia complain and say it sucked. And he's now glowed up, I think people call it. Just saying, well, now I'm a 410 untargetable bomb. Who's cool now? And this is looking a little bit more rough for Ryvius.
Look, Elysiana just doesn't matter in this matchup. It's all about boom. That's what I'm going to conclude here.
Magic neutralized.
Welp.
I believe it's pronounced whelp. Raven.
Okay. Is it 1 militia commander left?
Lilia?
He's used as Ilias,
Ah,
right?
okay. Man, what is there left to cast here? che0nsu has just got...
There you go, -1
So
bomb
much
off your
pressure.
random number of bombs you wrote
Yeah,
down.
okay.
Minus another one.
Cool. So it's x -2 now. X being completely variable. I would just like to see more magnetizing, wrench caliber hitting face, that hero power hitting face too. But depending on how many bombs there really are left, I think perhaps armoring up could be on che0nsu's mind.
I think I like the wrench caliber. Wrench caliber hero power.
That's because we don't see how many bombs there are, so this could be a huge danger zone.
But it also
yeah.
is extremely likely that you just kill Ryvius next
True.
time. So,
That's very true.
This just makes it even more likely, so that all che0nsu has to do is not die next turn, and he close to certainly wins.
Oh.
Bear in mind, there's already 4 damage in those bombs. If those goblin bombs are killed, there's 4 damage.
So he's going for 10 damage face here. Well, 11 with the town crier,
Yep.
but that extra one
well.
doesn't matter.
2 bombs for che0nsu, and it could be a very quick game either way.
A random percentage
There's
chance
one.
of dying.
Nope.
Okay.
Ryvius
Okay.
chooses
Ulti.
death, and even what looked like so one-sided for che0nsu, taking Mr. Boom, someone else calls him, Dr. Boom, early on and getting advantage that way. Also, Ryvius had a reasonable chance. He was just one more bomb away from winning the game due to that Grom. So already you can start to see how the different tech choices make big impacts on why some of these cards are here. Because Grom, Warrior does not normally have access to 10 damage from hand randomly. And adding that up, you start to add a few bombs in the deck. Well, you only have 30 health as a general rule in Hearthstone, so it starts to tick across pretty quick.
Yep. So a few notes to what you said. First off, how dare you strip the PhD off of Dr. Boom and turn him into just a Mister?
We're good friends, okay? I don't have to call him Doctor.
Then you just call him Boom. Do you call your friends Mister?
Sometimes.
English people are weird. But the other note I wanted to say is, why is this matchup so dependent on Boom right now? I wanted to see Elysiana or some of the tech choices at least coming into play, but nothing that we thought is favored is actually winning.
Yeah, I mean, I think myself and the rest of the Hearthstone community are more than happy to not see Elysiana decide matchups
Fair.
and extend matchups, but it does seem very one-sided, at least based on what we've seen, because at both points now in this series, at least, the player that was favored didn't, technically favored in terms of list, did not draw Boom before the other player, and so the player that was unfavored drew Boom and won. So that's happened twice now, and it sounds very dumb, and I'm sure Twitch chat's joining in, but Dr. Boom is extremely, extremely impactful in this matchup, especially when we've seen a few times now where one player just doesn't draw it. It's not as if it's just one player plays it first, the other one follows a little bit later. Sometimes the other player does not draw it quick enough, or at all, before the game is over, and with the sheer volume of bombs that can be shuffled in, the game does end. It does not go that late that often, as we've seen multiple times throughout today.
Okay, Raven, can we try for game 3 a little bit of a mix-up? Because I clearly can never get work anywhere as a secretary, ever.
Okay.
So can you be the one counting the bombs?
Okay,
for
I
this
didn't know
game?
secretaries counted bombs as a
It's just
skill.
taking notes, right?
Oh, okay.
Sure.
I'll count bombs and you do the rest.
Okay,
Okay, sounds
great.
good. I believe both players will get confirmation in second, but I would be quite surprised if either of the players moved into a different list right now. I think che0nsu just has to stick to his main, because it's, again, just a funny thing I mentioned earlier where Elysiana, I feel, doesn't have massive impact in the game, or at least from the games we've seen. But when you don't have it and your opponent does, it means your opponent can defuse bombs and you cannot. So it becomes a little bit more one-sided in terms of capabilities. Just had confirmation that both players are sticking on the decks. So I'm going to give you a prediction, or I'll put you on a prediction. Who do you think is going to take the series overall?
Well, Ryvius, on paper, more favored, and we can't just... essentially, who draws Boom first is a coin flip,
See, my
right?
answer, and the correct answer was Dr. Boom.
Well, you gave him back the doctor title, so I can't argue with
There you
that.
go.
But yeah, with Boom being a flip of who draws it first, just on average, all the other variables are in Ryvius's favor. So
Okay, let's go into it then. Game number 3 between che0nsu and Ryvius, and I'm sure you guys will be glad to know the last game of Bomb Warrior Mirror for the week in Asia Pacific.
but there's still some other Bomb Warrior games. In fact, the rest of the ones today will feature one Bomb Warrior on the side.
Not versus another Bomb Warrior.
Yes.
So it does mean the matchups do vary up, and it's pretty cool actually. We get to see Bomb Warrior versus Rogue next, Bomb Warrior versus Mage, and then Bomb Warrior versus Hunter. So it's pretty cool to see all these different matchups get played out.
I just miss Holy Wrath Paladin.
Now speak to the players, the deck's still good. It's just no one brought it. And whoever brought it this week would probably get destroyed by Bomb Warriors.
That is
so.
fair. And that's most likely why people didn't bring it. And now che0nsu has Boom again. But Ryvius has decent minions to curve out with, along with che0nsu, which can help him cycle into the boom quicker. Will he elect to elect, even though it dies to Militia Commander, and with the 1-2 on board also dies to Wrench Caliber trade?
Anything he does dies, though, doesn't it? It shows him to pass, so Ryvius going to take a slightly slower route. I didn't know whether... I mean, stacking bombs is important, right? And the Elec does a good job of literally doubling the potential amount of bombs you can put into the opponent's deck. But I also wonder if, with not having Boom in hand, if just playing on curve you kind of just have to do.
Yeah, it's curious. I mean, the hand looks like it supports going for that aggressive game plan just because it's got tons of minions. And now it's going to be Militia Commander for a small target.
Maybe Coin Dynomatic? I guess it doesn't really matter which way you can save the coin. I guess Militia Commander this turn, coin can turn after.
Yeah, I was
Is
looking
pretty
at
likely.
that curve is...
I was working out
probably-
whether there's a way that pays off, but the fact this is on 4 and not 3 is pretty huge.
So this is quite awkward for che0nsu. I'm sure he doesn't want to shield slam this, but none of these cards are particularly good on their own right now. So he's just going to order a second bomb. Coin che0n, I'm pretty sure that's why che0n is in the deck. It's just really tough to deal with on curve. But no, actually gonna get either Ziliax or the second commander. Yeah, that actually just makes way more sense because he can save the coin. Still play che0n on curve, technically.
Curve, Bloodhoof. I think being able to potentially just coin out che0nsu or Boom is very good as well, based on obviously what Ryvius can do. So definitely not the end of the world, and also the first part of che0n died to whatever was on board anyway, to the combination of the Goblin and the Swing.
I wonder if che0nsu is just gonna play Ziliax for low value here, simply to have something to do. Like, he could clear everything with Shield Slam and Ziliax, but I guess you just hold Ziliax in that instance. Gets a lot better
just take
after
the armor
Boom is on light, yeah. This is a low value Shield Slam, but again, the player that has Boom is much more willing to expend resources, I would say.
Oh, he is going to Ziliax.
Huh. That's interesting.
Precision. Perfection.
I guess, wow, okay, we have a game on our hands. I was gonna say, we can see from that Ziliax play that che0nsu values still having the board way more, which is true just because of the way the decks are built.
And most importantly, I think we can see from Ryvius' response that he is extremely happy to see the Dr. Boom draw. He is just like, okay, Boom on curve. And my opponent literally cannot play Boom realistically any quicker. So at worst, it's even. At best, Ryvius is going to play Boom beforehand.
The minion Boom would be just a War Golem for Ryvius because he hasn't shuffled anything for che0nsu, I think. Oh, he's going che0nsu here. They really value the board presence, and I guess this makes sense having seen a Shield Slam. Double Devastator is pretty good outcome, I'd say.
Yeah, pretty flexible.
And I would say the che0nsu is definitely better on to preempt your opponent's minion Boom turn rather than just playing passively your hero Boom.
Yeah, and the big thing really is you want to play Hero Boom in the best case when you already have the board or can at least fight for it. Whereas playing it into minions is horrible because the armor gain you get just doesn't.
Ryvius gonna take the Brawl here and soak up an average of 15 damage if all the Boom bots die. What? Are you serious?
Soaked up a full 6 damage there as well.
He still took 14 if I read that
So
correctly.
20 damage from the Boom bot.
Yeah. So che0nsu with a thumbs up, even though I think overall that was still a pretty unlucky outcome for him with the brawl. But I guess he can't complain.
Yeah, but now this is a pretty low threat board for che0nsu to play Boom into now. It's only a 3-3 and the micro squad cleans this up with some change to spare.
He's gonna use the weapon charge as well because Ryvius is running Harrison in the sideboard.
And also you keep a minion, you keep some minions on
Yeah.
board, never too bad.
So the minion Boom here is old Dr. Boom with just 2 Boom bots, so I like that he's going for the hero Boom instead. Just make sure he doesn't die in the next turn. He's got a lot of powerful things to do, namely 1 mana deal 10 damage to a minion and Omega Assembly. Not the greatest, but you're never too sad to have Omega Devastator, I suppose. But I think from che0nsu's perspective, he'd much rather have had, I'll say it again, Bulldozer or just Beryllium Nullifier, big threats.
Yeah, I think that's actually just an above average Omega Assembly for me. Because he has the Doggo and he has an additional Omega Devastator. Which I think if you get Omega Devastator and 2 bad mechs, it's still just a decent a decent one, decent discover. But with the Scrap Hound too, I don't know, I think that's above average in terms of quality of mechs, not size of mechs.
Sure, but is quality more important than size in this situation? Because I feel like che0nsu still has to be the aggressor, so even playing something like a replicating menace to magnetize onto the 4-1 could have pushed more damage there.
I don't know if he does have to be the aggressor now though, right? Because he's already dealt with Cairn. There's the Grom and 1 additional bomb.
That's fair.
There's not much else, and he's been Boom for longer. He's got way more health. He's got plenty of cards. Like, I think che0nsu can just play this out.
But che0nsu is deeper in fatigue is the issue. I did a little attempt at...
He's more or less even, right? He's 2 and 1 bombs, so I guess he's just slightly deeper, I suppose.
2 cards? Could be relevant.
But I actually think playing Elysiana first is really good too.
Sure.
Because it's a side effect of being deep in fatigue. But when you play Elysiana, your opponent's Elysiana sucks because they're playing into a board most of the time.
That's a fair point. In any case, even though we can argue for days about the average quality of Omega assemblies, che0nsu looks like he's still in the driver's seat here. The issue is he has to worry about the opposing Blastmaster Boom.
Yeah, that's definitely something that will make up this damage numbers, because it's more or less where the extra damage has come from, and the damage difference between the health totals of the players here is che0nsu's Boom going off. Yeah, it's weird, right? Would you put that Omega Assembly higher tier than the previous one?
I think so.
Really? I don't think I would.
Purely because of the Rover. I think the Steambot is worse than all the other minions.
Right.
Without having something to magnetize onto the top of it. But it could potentially get way better if he delivery drones into any magnetized minion.
che0nsu there, just leaning back, taking a different perspective view on his hand.
Ryvius,
as he just
yeah.
looks at it from sorry, Ryvius, yeah, looks at it from a different angle. Maybe you need fresh eyes for this thing.
I like that song.
I don't mind it, it's just a single threat to play, but...
I was gonna mention the replicating menace just because the hand from Ryvius looks a little bit heavier, at least just having the Boom and the Elysiana. That's like a solid thing for the entire turn to do. I think the replicating maybe gives him more flexibility.
Ryvius just holding for a second because he's working out whether he needs to Omega Devastator a 0-9, which I don't think he does. I think he can wait, and I like this. I like this hesitation from Ryvius, just saying, well, actually, it's a 0-9. My Omega Devastator isn't even a 4-attack minion, you know, 4-5, so it's going to have value on the board. It's just a 1-1. So I like holding it and gaining the flexibility later on.
Order could have been a bit better from Ryvius there, but I think he probably only realized later on that he needed to play an Omega Assembly. And it's still better to play it there even though it's not optimal order than not playing it at all.
When you make a bit of a mistake, don't fully commit to the mistake to pretend it was all part of the plan, because it is almost always worse than just recovering and doing the correct second half.
Exactly.
Okay then.
che0nsu can very easily remove these things. Even having Omega Devastator deal 4 damage I think is fine, because it also presents a threat on board. He can fit in Militia Commander onto the 1-3. You can chuck a Hero Power face.
I think either way he wants to get his weapon equipped, right?
The fact that he's going for shield block signals to me that he really is not playing for fatigue.
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
I'm not sure what he's looking to draw in particular, because I feel like the turn would have been solid with the hand he has.
I'm just gonna break the weapon. Okay. So if you're gonna do this, then yes, you don't play the Wrench Caliber. I just wonder whether he took the approach of caring that much.
I guess he was looking for exactly Weapons Project to deal with the Wrench Caliber. I'm not sure what he
missed
would have
3
wanted.
damage from the Hero Power too.
I said the Safeguard was useless, but it's actually quite annoying for Ryvius in this situation, because if that taunt weren't there, he would be free to go something like Safeguard into the 4-4, call it a day.
Yeah.
But he can just go Replicating Menace and separately Safeguard, use the Weapon Charge and the Replicating to deal with the 0-5, Safeguard into the 4-4. The problem is he misses Hero Power, and you almost never want to do that in this matchup.
What about Omega Devastator the 4-4?
Okay then.
Ziliax and Replicating Menace to kill the 0-5 and heal. Make one big dude. Keeps the...
Still miss
he-
Hero
I guess he
Power,
can.
I think.
But he gains so much healing that maybe missing the Hero Power would be horrible. Obviously, you kind of want to get both. But I guess going for this way, he just doesn't really need to Omega Devastator this 4-4.
So going about it with the Death Rattle means that he clears the whole board and preserves all the health on the Safeguard. This is probably just strictly superior to what I said first. I think he's just trying to set up for the cleanest board possible into his Blastmaster Boom turn, so that most of the damage goes face and no minions are left to soak it up.
Okay then.
It's looking like che0nsu's going for Rover and possibly Militia Commander. But the... I was gonna say, this play is like good just because you use all your mana, but you're not using that power of Rover damage into rushing the newly spawned mech. But I don't think che0nsu's too upset about it.
Yeah, I think this is still going to be a problem regardless, isn't it?
Can we get a quick bomb count, Raven, as
Well, I've
secretary?
gone down to 0 now.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
Don't trust me on this, but my
Well, you said
unofficial...
you weren't going to count,
Yeah.
and then you started counting, so
Just because
you don't trust me. It's fine.
I didn't say that. But yeah, we can just leave it at probably being 0 because my unofficial count also agrees with yours.
Okay. So the Omega Devastator is going to just clean up this 2-6. It will spawn the 2-3 as well, but just 1 isn't really a huge problem, especially with the Microbot Hero Power again. To have some good work on clearing this minion up with not much trouble.
Definitely like seeing the Nullifier as well. Because che0nsu did use a Devastator recently. The second one is in hand though, so Ryvius is going to be a little bit upset about that, I think. With the bomb count being on 0, maybe che0nsu wants to save his bomb generations for the same turn.
Yeah, and trying to shove them all in.
Right.
I guess at that point he can always just swing the Wrench Caliber once, because also you can swing the Wrench Caliber twice in one turn, right? So, but it does mean the more he clumps them up and the longer this game goes, it does mean that it's more likely for them to chain go off as well. And Ryvius is not tons of health.
Oh, my bomb count wasn't 2. I'm not just saying that after the fact, but I'm very surprised to see that now that I'm not officially counting, I got something right. But anyway, it's not the ideal boom for Ryvius because che0nsu still got so much health, and now that sorry, actually che0nsu is much deeper in fatigue. 4 cards because 2 out of the 7 are bombs, right?
Sure.
So Dynomatic
This
here
would be a
can
good
help snipe
time
the
for a
boom
master
after a
plan.
trade, and you can kaboom to deal with the rest of the board.
What if he just... What if he just shield slams Elysian as if he's got that many bombs in the deck?
It's just 2, right? I'm not sure
Wait, I thought
if...
you just said it was 4.
No, it's 2.
Okay, then.
Oh, okay.
But 4 cards deeper in fatigue because
Oh, okay,
Ryvius
sure,
is on
sure.
0, right? Yeah.
Okay. No, Ryvius is on 2. He just summoned the boom bots, right?
Oh, I love that news thing.
I thought we had Ryvius at 0. Okay, let's just stop talking
We'll go
about
with
that.
facts. Ryvius is on 2 because he summoned 4 boom bots. Now he is on 3. che0nsu is going to go with the swings, though.
What? Ryvius is the one that played Dr. Boom. So,
Wait. Wait, hang on. I'm confused as to who we're talking about. I hate the mirror.
okay.
So Ryvius is on 4 now.
I have him on 1. Oh, sorry, 2. I have him on 2 after the swing. But let's not talk about that. Harrison can deal with
I'm
the
so
wrench
confused now.
caliber. We really do need a third person to do this, or the bomb overlay.
Or just to, I guess, not be rubbish. But for me, Ryvius
That's-
played Blastmaster Boom and summoned 4 boom bots, which is 2 bombs. Then che0nsu just shuffled 2 more bombs in there.
No, but Ryvius playing Dr. Boom is... That's
Oh,
how
it's
many
the other
decks in
bomb.
che0nsu's deck.
Oh god, it is 2. It's because I'm doubting my own count
It's
now.
alright,
I'm going
it's
too
alright.
deep with too many Warrior Mirrors in. I've counted too many bombs.
You know, I cannot blame
Blizzard,
you at all.
remove bombs from the game. I'm done.
Or just give us an overlay. That would be amazing. The viewers would love it too, I'm
So,
pretty sure. But yeah.
Elysiana is going to come down and wipe all of our hard work of maybe guessing and counting sometimes at some points.
Yeah. These are awful choice. I guess Abomination is just something to do. The
Oh, more
Scribe
bombs
is
in the
decent.
deck.
Whew.
Oh, okay. Well,
Oh, Devastator. Yeah.
that was one shining light at the end of that terrible Elysiana tunnel.
I think the Scribe is reasonable. It's a sticky minion. You just play it onto a turn when your opponent doesn't have Kaboom, and then it kind of presents a problem. But yeah, importantly, che0nsu replaced his deck when a third of it, I think, was bombs.
Precision.
And with the Scrap Hound Zilliax, Ryvius is, you know, shoring up the health difference. So I think che0nsu is not in a great spot. He took the Warpath though, which is good news. Or is it really because he had another one anyway, and another one? Did he need a third and fourth Warpath?
I mean, the options weren't great, were they? So I don't know. Maybe this is just safety and saying, well, if the game progresses, then...
Also, did he play the one off the top? I can't quite tell because of the way the Echo card
I'm not
goes
sure
far
how,
right.
how fast
but
he played it.
yeah.
Snap pick.
Yeah.
Ryvius going to lock in some damage with this Grom. It's not going to be the 10 from proccing it, but still it's a 4-9 that has to be dealt with. And Ryvius gaining the Omega Devastator is huge, because it's just an extra minion, basically. So it's just an extra high-powered minion. Mechathune is in the hand as well, which most importantly is just a 10-mana 10-10 rush to act as a kind of Omega Devastator.
Yeah, also he was threatening the Zap Cannon, so che0nsu has to remove this, and it's rather expensive using 2 whole cards, but at least he can fit in the hero power.
And this game's starting to get very, very scrappy indeed.
I think Ryvius is far ahead here. Because che0nsu didn't discover any crazy high-value minions off of Elysiana. The best he got was the Devastators, and I guess these Scribes, but Ryvius has answers, and he has his own Elysiana.
Oh.
The Mechathune Wars, but obviously che0nsu needs to deal with the problem at hand.
Well, the Mechathune would be okay next turn, but it would cancel itself out, which isn't quite as good as a 4-drop just killing a 10-drop.
Right, in the meantime, che0nsu would have taken the 10
Yeah,
damage.
exactly.
But I don't see a way che0nsu gets out of this, honestly, because Ryvius has 2 bombs in deck, so at worst we can put him on having 16 health, but where does che0nsu get the damage? Because none of these minions he plays are sticking. Everything from Ryvius has rush, basically. And in the worst case scenario, Ryvius still has his Elysiana to offset any fatigue.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? So these Wrench Caliber bombs go off 100% of the time unless the game finishes early. And Ryvius can Elysiana and whenever. Whenever's safe, I think, is the point here from Ryvius. Well, there's the bomb going off straight away.
Yeah.
But whenever there is a safe turn that Ryvius will not take tons of damage on the backswing, he'll probably just drop Elysiana unless there is a much better clear turn available for him. Like now, he can just Omega Devastator into Warpath and deal with this pretty easily.
Or the hero power.
Oh, sorry, Hero
Yeah.
Power. Yeah, that's much better. You can follow up with a Clockwork Goblin too.
There might be a play with not using the Devastator and maybe using like Swing, Hero Power, Warpath. Sorry, the Elec goes first before the swing, so you can shuffle 4 bombs and remove everything, I'm pretty sure. You'd face tank 6 in that scenario, but I don't think he's too sad about it. Granted, Ryvius hasn't seen all of the cards generated by Elysiana. He's seen the Scribe, he's seen Devastator, and I'm not sure if he's seen Warpath.
And I think at this point, even if you don't have full information about all the cards, you should just revert to one of the base Hearthstone rules as do your best turn.
Okay.
Do whatever is just the most powerful that you can do, as opposed to trying to do the advanced thing of also causing your opponent some problems.
Yeah, and by doing it this way, just trading in the Goblin, yeah, he doesn't need the 3/3 on board. Might as well save the 6 damage on your face in case of some, terrible scenario. I guess I've seen people discover Grom off of Elysiana a lot of times, so maybe he's accounting for 20 damage out of nowhere over 2 turns.
Somebody order a bomb.
Okay, just
3
note
bombs,
as well,
I
the
think?
Abomination will deal 2 damage to both players when it dies as well, so there is just a note that there's extra damage available if this dies. 10 damage from bombs?
I think there were 3 bombs, so okay. There's 1 more left out of the 2, I'm pretty sure. And Ryvius, I don't know if this is a punish, quote-unquote, for waiting for so long with the Elysiana, but the problem of playing it this turn is he's taking another 7.
I think it's relatively okay, though.
Okay, if my bomb count is at 1, then clearing the board is just better in terms of removing damage, right? Because the 1 bomb will deal 5.
Yeah, but the Abomination deals 2 anyway, right?
Yeah, sure. But I do like going for board control here instead. He gets that cool interaction of Abomination and Security Rover in the meantime. And generates taunts even in the case of che0nsu having some type of Grom discovery from Elysiana. So I think overall Ryvius has covered all his bases here. Good outcome for che0nsu because he can clear this, and Ryvius gets knowledge of the 3rd out of 5 Elysiana card. Either 3rd or 4th, I think.
Almost out of cards.
Okay, and then the last card is not a bomb.
That's it. I'm out of cards.
Finally got there, Raven. I did something right with the bomb counting.
Technically wrong, because you told me you weren't going to count this game, so still works out.
Cut me some slack.
Nope. Geppetto, not fantastic. Security Rover looks good to me, and yeah, these are getting lightning picked, but I think they're fairly straightforward options.
The game is nearly over unless che0nsu gets a miracle mech here.
I mean,
Although none of the cards
that's
he
a
got.
miracle mech as far as I'm concerned.
Sure.
Does he just play out as much as possible and try and kill
think so.
Ryvius next turn?
Yeah, that's his only out because he knows he doesn't have any burst from hand.
Yeah.
I mean, from deck, from the stuff he got from Elysiana.
So he kills this, pushes
Yeah.
3, and has, what, 8, 9, 10, 11 damage next turn, plus potential Boom Hero power.
Yeah.
Ryvius does heal for 7, but
Yeah. And he can Dinomatic to clear.
one of the minions.
Yes.
Oh, With that shield block, it means he isn't playing the Sunwalker.
Diffusers!
Wow. I am...
I mean, this does.
okay, that's fine.
The Sunwalker
Yeah,
would have
just-
you would have took the damage anyway, because
Yeah.
especially because of the hero power from che0nsu, so that's more of a heads-up reason to do it. But 18 health, and che0nsu's making the push. He's trying to cross the finishing line here as quickly as possible, because the longer this game goes on, the more chance Ryvius has of winning.
Right. He doesn't have any mechs from hand to... oh, okay, now he does. That can rush. And I think Ryvius has turned the corner here. che0nsu crucially couldn't even play his second Devastator because it's forced to target something.
Yeah.
The only time Devastator's bad.
When you're already winning.
He's not.
I mean, winning on board.
Okay, yeah. che0nsu has another Abomination, another Warpath, I think.
The sick thing here is he can actually Omega Devastator this 2-3, and then even just use the bots to trade into the 2-3 that will be made and keep 2 4-5s on the board, which is actually pretty sick.
But is it outpacing what Ryvius can do? Well, Ryvius doesn't have mechs right now, so...
And either way, che0nsu doesn't have full information, so he's just going to make these best plays. Oh, he's going to go for the A-bomb instead.
Okay, this is 3-4 attacking. I guess it's more pressure on average.
Ooh, this boom hero power is so sick, considering that there's not only the Hench Clan Hags, but also some walkers. Like, deal 1 to the enemy board is so good versus Divine Shield in these 1-1s.
Well, the Zap Cannon is a very fortunate outcome for Ryvius here.
Okay then.
But the problem is he can't use full mana just doing that and put up a taunt because I think he really wants the Sunwalker.
I think he has to Zap Cannon rush in and then play the Hag.
Zap Cannon the A-bomb and rush.
Okay
But then you're leaving a 4-3 and a 4-1 in
No,
that case,
because
right?
the Hag's 1-1s are mechs, so you
You're
can trade
right.
them off. Yeah.
I forgot about that.
You could trade into 1.
Yeah, that seems good. In the meantime, he goes down to 12 health and there's 4 on the opposing board.
Love that fuse thing.
I think it's the best he's got.
I agree.
That I can
Yeah.
see.
It just removes the most stuff, but he might have forgotten that they're mechs, and I wouldn't blame him. I completely forgot. Those
Well-
tokens are everything.
Well, in a roundabout way, this also... So the idea here is the trades don't equal to 5 unless there's an extra 1 point of damage.
Yeah.
So it means that che0nsu shouldn't be able to get the damage through, but the warpaths are going to help.
He should know that they're a warpath, but how does this line up with Abomination?
Oh wait, he can always get the damage through, so he always pushes 4 anyway.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Also, even if the hero power wasn't Kaboom, he should know that those cards left are, or well, not 100% because they technically could have been in deck that Elysiana replaced, but I think it's pretty reasonable to say that they're that. But Ryvius is pretty fortunate with getting these blast shields.
And also shuffling bombs in is going to help just
Yeah.
accelerate this a tiny bit, just with this C4 bomber.
I think all the cards left are bombs, if I'm not.
I'm not even
not
going to commit to an
mistaken.
answer.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say we're going to find out.
Yeah,
I'm not
I
counting
mean,
bombs
Ryvius Snap
again.
played it, so I think that's just it.
That's it. I'm out of cards.
Yep.
And that is it. Ryvius takes the game with the final C4 bomber, shuffling in right at the very end. It was very close for the last game, to be honest, and all down to those similar timings of Dr. Boom. But Ryvius just about made it work. He did have just simply more bomb generation in his deck, as well as more active damage from hand with the help of that Grom as well. It was a long series and it was a close one, but Ryvius gets the win overall. I'm done. I'm never counting Bomb Mirror ever again. I'll count the Bomb Warriors versus X. I will not count the Bomb Warrior Mirrors. It confuses me far too much.
It is pretty sad for me that this is my last day casting, but on the flip side, this is also my last day casting Bomb Warrior Mirrors.
Yep. You might just have to play against a lot of Bomb Warriors in Vegas. So who's really losing or winning here, I don't know. But that is match number 3 done for the day. Should speed up a little bit after that though. We've got Flurry versus Frosty coming up. It's going to be Rogue versus Warrior. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with more Hearthstone.